Well, a very good morning. My name is Uganda Semakola Ziksoka. Welcome to BC TV. Good morning, Uganda Extra. On this 1st of November in this year 2021, another very lovely and blessed day. Of course, bring us and ushering us into a new month, the month of November. Now, that means we're only just counting 2 months to end this year. Now, today is a very special day to me and my mother. It is a birthday. It is my birthday. It is my mother's birthday. And it is the Chava Zinga's birthday. What a lovely day for the three of us. And of course, everybody out there, if today is a birthday, we just want to say celebrate it honorably. And of course, we wish you the best of today. Now, let's get into business. Today is also the Africa Youth Day. And we'll just connect to a young man, one of our youth ambassadors, and he is the presidential AD on youth affairs, Mr. Daniel Oba, who is right now in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Let me just get to him, and we get into the conversation this morning. I can now see you, Daniel. Good morning. If you can hear me and you can see me, respond.
Good morning, my brother Jagenda.
Well, I'm happy to have you and I'm happy to see you. Thank you so much for having allowed to join us here today. And of course, thank you so much for the good job and the good work that you're doing to market and talk about Uganda, wherever you are. I know that you are in Addis Ababa today as we wait for the announcement of the African Youth Envoy, which is supposed to happen tonight or this very afternoon. Let's get to other issues first and foremost. What's the difference between this day today and the traditional 12th of August that we know as the International Youth Day?
Thank you so much, my brother. First, I want to wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you.
Also extend it to your lovely mother and the wonderful Chavazinga. It is unique that your birthday also falls on a very unique day in the continent. Today, the 1st of November, 2021, is Africa Youth Day. Africa Youth Day was started on the 1st of November, 2020, when a group of young people gathered in Addis Ababa here to chart ways forward to embrace and to understand the contribution of Africa's young people in the development and growth of their society. The difference between the August 12th International Youth Day and today is that for August 12th, it is joined by every country that subscribes to the United Nations. It is a conventional youth day for the whole world, but they are all with the same purpose. But then for today, the Africa Youth Day is specifically gazetted for the Africa countries, the member states of the African Union, the youth in these member states, and then the Africans who are in the diaspora to celebrate their contribution to the development of their society. So the Africa Youth Day for the 1st of November every year is a more Africanized concept of the International Youth Day celebrations. My brother, thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And I think now that gives us a very good start. And thank you for highlighting to us why it's actually called the Africa Youth Day and when it was started and the reasons. Looking at, of course, the objectives of starting many of these days. Now we have quite a number of these days that are set by the United Nations, International Youth Day, Women's Day, this day, that day, that day. Almost everything has got a day. Getting back to the youth affairs, for example, do you look at these days answering and giving solutions to the endless youth problems in the world and on the continent specifically?
Yes, my brother, definitely. You see, one way to ensure that young people continue to remain on track is to have a day that can reflect on their activities, what they are doing to shape the continent, what they are doing to enforce developments in their community. Today, actually, it's not only today. Today is the beginning of an entire month of youth activities. In the African Union calendar, the whole of November is dedicated to reflecting on the activities and the contributions of young people. That's why, even in Uganda, I am aware that the National Youth Council has organized beehives of activities beginning today for the whole month. That is why the East African community, they are already assembled in Arusha. They are having young people to continue debating and charting ways forward to moving the continent forward. So I think these days are very important because it is when the policymakers join hands with the youth leaders, join hands with the youth from the grassroots to discuss what are the pressing issues that can be addressed in order to move the societies, in order to move the continent forward. So to me, it's a very remarkable day. It's a very important day for us to celebrate how far we have come and to see where we really need to go and what needs to be done. The hands that needs to come together to make sure that we can deliver on the promises.
Okay, Daniel, just I think last week you were in Accra, in Ghana, where there was, of course, another meeting called the Youth Connect. And quite a number of these initiatives or meetings keep happening back and forth on the continent and in different parts of the world. What do we achieve from them, apart from belonging to these organizations, apart from maybe having days out, what do we benefit from these endless and various meetings that keep happening to talk about the issues of the youth?
My brother, you would understand that at this moment of time, Africa is moving towards opening its doors, opening its borders. So one of the reasons why this kind of meetings are very important is that it brings our leadership together to interact with fellow leaders from other African countries, to see our potentials, to create the rapport and the social network, the capital that we will need to drive the continental agenda. It is, of course, very important for our country, Uganda, to seize these moments to participate in these activities, to be represented in these activities, because that is when we get to engage with other policy leaders from other countries. That is when we get to understand what other people are doing in their respective countries, to try and domesticate whatever they are doing for the betterment of our country. This would, of course, make our country be competitive. When the borders open, our country will have a lot more to offer than closing up ourselves together. In Accra, of course, the same question you're asking also came up, that we are having a lot of these youth activities, conferences, but of what real meaningful impact are they to the development of youth agenda in the continent? And I agree with you. And when we were there, what we discussed is that we need to now begin doing more of implementing the good things that we discussed that comes out of these deliberations in our respective countries. But of course, we cannot rule out the very important nature of these conferences, this summit, in as far as shaping a harmonized continental agenda is concerned.
Okay, why do you think that the youth question has come out so vividly in the recent past? Yet we know very well that there has not been a time in this country or in this continent where there have not been youths. Even when you run back to the post-colonial era, where we had the young boys here, the likes of the late now Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, I come through and through. These were youth at that time. And when we talk about the youth today, we tend to paint a picture that the youth are actually just a thing of maybe yesterday. They've just started being here. What do you think is so special with the youth today that was not with the youth of the yesteryears?
For the case of Uganda, I think, especially after we became a more democratized society, I think the youth have always been considered as part and parcels of the development of our country. That's why in the 1995 Constitution, under the leadership of His Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the youth has been given a very special place in our country. There are a lot of affirmative actions that have been put in place for them. And since then, their representation at all levels, administrative levels, had been catered for. But of course, when we are looking at it in a more larger perspective, considering every African country, I think probably other countries for some time are not given the youth the attention that they deserve. And that's why in the year 2006, when the African heads of states were meeting in the Gambia, they had to adopt a charter called the Africa Youth Charter. The charter was basically trying to re-emphasize the importance of youth in the development of our respective countries. And since then, many countries really that have signed, ratified the charter have been making positive move towards ensuring that the young people are not only represented, but their voices are also heard. So I think that the role that young people play, especially for Uganda, has not been downplayed. I think what we need to do, we need to make sure that the positions that the young people are holding right from the villages are of added advantage to our people. The young people, the leaders, people like me, the youth members of parliament, the National Youth Council, right from the villages, they need to walk the talk. I think the challenge of youth leadership, especially for Uganda, may not be a weakness of the government per se, but perhaps the office holders. And I need to also tell you that Uganda is a model state when it comes to youth representation. I can assure you that in the whole of Africa, and by extension the world, Uganda is the only country that has got elective youth representation right from the villages. Uganda is the only country in the whole of Africa and in the entire world where the positions of youth member of parliament is guaranteed in the constitution, and having right now one of the youngest parliaments. So I think we now need not to allow it only be more of a celebration. We need to ensure that this position work, and that burden is on we, the young people, which is why as we celebrate today, we need to look into, as young people, what we intend to do, what we intend to achieve for the continent, for our respective countries.
Okay, well, Daniel, thank you very much. Now you just bring in some very good aspect here on the Ugandan case, and now I'll also address you on the Ugandan scenario. When you look at Uganda, for example, from when we started having a youth representation in parliament, subsequently over the years we have a guaranteed 5 spots every election year for a whole term, and over a period of time we've of course had these. We've seen these come to parliament, represent the youth, and of course get onto different positions or elsewhere. Secondly, you've also just mentioned that yes, we have a youthful parliament. Now, away from the youth who are representing the youth in parliament, but we also have very young and youthful legislators in parliament. The question here would be, are they offering a service to the youth of this country, or it is just an opportunity for a handful of youths to get better, to maybe find a future for themselves, as opposed to addressing the problems of the youth on the continent and in the country, specifically for Uganda?
Thank you so much, my brother. I have for a very long time been trying to take feedbacks from our young people, right from the grassroots, on what relevance of all these positions are, and that will allow me give you what I would consider a very informed response. You see, we have a young parliament full of youth. We also have youth members of parliament. But of course, on the face of it, when we begin to reflect on the impact in the society, I think it is quite negligible. And that goes to their personality. Government cannot force them to do what they're supposed to do. But then, as leaders, there is need to live to the promises that we make to the voters. It is called the social contract. If you're a young person and in your parliament, you have promised to voters in the villages, the young people, you're going to do this and that, but when you get to parliament, you're doing something different. That is a question of morality, and it indicts you and your people to come. And for the case of youth members of parliament, these are the group of people that are expected so much to deliver the agenda for our young people. But of course, I understand that accountability questions normally come in, and I have always blamed this in the way the positions are designed, in the way the legal parameters are put in place. This is a position that you contest for only once, and after that you're looking for a constituency to contest in. So that affects the idea of accountability. I think going forward, maybe as leaders, we'll need to begin looking into our constitution. We'll need to begin looking into the National Youth Council Act to try and see how we can make these youth positions to really have meaningful impact in the lives of our young people. Because those who occupy, they will most times engage in earning money, getting as much as they can, looking for the next places to contest in. And of course, I think going forward, as young people, we need to be able to discern the kind of people whom we are going to give these votes. So the responsibility on the one end is on we as young people who get to vote leaders, and on the other end is on the leaders that gets voted to power. I think now more than ever, we need to develop the culture of accountability at all levels so that these positions can translate into meaningful service, meaningful impact for our young people, wherever they are in our country.
Okay, Daniel, just stay online. We'll take a break shortly and return and continue with this conversation. Just stay online. Don't go away. We'll just take a break, very short break, and we'll return then carry on with our conversation on this African Youth Day. We come back shortly.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome to the home of our stars. Come on in. We have our movies, gossip, reality, conflict, tulinane comedy. Basirebu baffe bonna live right here. Because no matter where you go, this is the home of our stars.
This year, as Power Magic Mix 3, we are delighted to invite you to see, experience and celebrate with us. Power Magic, the home of our stars. Multi-Choice Uganda is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co-Uganda, Office of the President. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Well, thank you so much. We continue with our conversation. My name is Jagenda Semakola Ziksoka, and of course, it is where we are now. We talk about the Youth Day, the African Youth Day. Of course, this day was started by the agitation, of course, from some Africans were meeting, and of course, they discussed this with our heads of states. And our own President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni was my champion in pushing for this day, specifically today as an African Youth Day, and of course the whole month of November being a month of activities to commemorate and of course to appreciate the youth of Africa at large and on the continent. With us on Zoom from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia is Mr. Daniel Oba, a presidential AD in charge of youth affairs in this country. Back to you, Daniel. Let me see you again and hear from you. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm around, my brother.
Very, very important. Now let's get to the other interventions of course, that government has put in place to curb the spiraling rates of unemployment. Now, you remember that there has been what they call the Youth Venture Capital Fund in this country. You remember that there was something called the Youth Enterprise Scheme, or YES, in this country. You also remember the YLP, the Youth Livelihood Program. You remember the presidential initiative on skilling the girl child. You also remember programs like BITVET or TVET, and quite a number of all these initiatives that, of course, are here to see what happens to the youth of this country. Do you look at all these initiatives as paying off, or these are also avenues where government has tried their best but lost it?
Oh, thank you so much, my brother. Of course, it would be unfair to say government has tried its best and lost. I think these interventions have delivered somewhat in regards to trying to mitigate and reduce the issues of unemployment in our country. I would talk of one, the skilling of the girl child. Except for during this corona period, in the previous years, government, the office of the president had really been delivering on these promises. Our sisters have received a lot of training, tailoring and garment cutting. They have received the training on weaving, and then braiding of the hairs, among others. And this has really tried so much to improve and reduce the gap of unemployment within the young people in our country. Of course, the Youth Venture Capital also achieved its purposes, including the Youth Livelihood Program. It achieved a lot. But of course, the question of unemployment in a country like Uganda is still so deep, because you might be aware that every year we receive a number of graduates, and the graduates come out with the mindset of the white-collar jobs, which are not really very available in Uganda. And in every country, public service is not the biggest employment source for the population. So the numbers of graduates that we get in Uganda are over and above the numbers of jobs that we have. I think going forward, we might need to embrace a lot in regards to giving the rightful skills to our young people, so that when they come out of our institutions, they are able to be more of job creators than really job seekers. That would be the only way. But of course, in regards to trying to end the aspects of unemployment in the country, you may need to note that about a month ago, the Office of the President in charge of economic monitoring launched a science and innovation search. And I can assure you that over 100 startups owned by young people have been selected. These groups are going to receive money. They are going to be supported to venture into the areas of expertise. And you are also aware that this year the government launched what we call the parish development model. I take a lot of pride in this model because it is unique in the whole of the continent. And aside from every other interventions in the past, the parish model gives an opportunity for our young people, the leaders right from the parishes, to be main decision bearers in regards to what they want to do as a people, what their expertise are. So I really have a lot of faith that going forward, I think with such strategic interventions, we are going to be able to mitigate the impact of unemployment and ensure that we absorb as much as possible young people into employable sectors in this economy.
Obao, you also noticed that insurgencies, civil strifes or civil unrests and rebellions on the continent are all youth instigated, they are youth driven. Just because of that, do we look at the youth as potential? Do we look at the youth as something to pride in? Do we look at the youth as a blessing, or we look at them as an undoing to the continent's progress in terms of a development, socioeconomic transformation, and democracy?
In every country, and for the case of Uganda, I know that the youth are always a blessing. And I know for very many countries, the youth are a blessing. Of course, there are challenges notwithstanding. I believe that when we engage youth and ensure that we dig deeper and exploit the demographic dividends that come with having a very youthful population, we are going to have them doing a lot of productive activities as opposed to being engaged in this aspect of insecurities. I don't think we also need to blame every insecurity on the young people. I don't think so. The people who drive insecurities are many. They include external forces. So we cannot keep on blaming insecurities in Africa or insecurities in our country on the young people. Let's take the young people as a blessing from God. Let's give them the skills that they need. Let's engage them in every sector of the economy, in every decision making. I can assure you that we are going to have a lot of resistance coming from the young.
How would you advise the youth who think that the time is running out of them, the time is running out away from them, and the old persons are actually not giving them space, they're not giving them time to take over or even overtake? What advice would you give to them who are actually saying it is our time now, and whichever way you go, the time is here for us, or else we bust?
I think for the young people, we as young people, it does not stop at saying it is our time is now. No, I have told people that being a youth or being young should not be a bargaining chip. When you're young and you don't have the capacity to, I don't think you need to claim. I think you claim when you're young and you know that you have the capacity to deliver on what you want. Certainly, for any young person, when you realize your time is running out, ask yourself one thing. At a personal level, what personal development have you achieved as a person? As young people, we should not think that we can only deliver by trying to grab the government positions. No. I know very many young people in Uganda who are engaged in non-governmental works, who are engaged in their own employment opportunities. They've started a lot of companies and they're actually thriving. So we cannot think that to achieve in life as a young person, you must be able to achieve politically. That would not be right. That would actually be wrong. So as young people, we need to be change agents. We need to be moving hard to make changes in our societies, irrespective of the positions we hold in those societies. Change begins from home. When you begin to ensure that things at home, they are working progressively, you're already playing a part in the development of your country. Change begins in the lowest level of administration, the villages, the parishes. What are you doing in your parish? You cannot be jumping from a village, from a parish to a national level. Even you see our great leaders like President Museveni, when they were young, when they were in school, they were involved in leadership. They were changing the society when they were young. They were doing something when they were young. They did not wait to reach 25 and begin saying that, no, the old people are not giving us space. In politics in any country, it is not handed on a silver plate. It is not. You need to fight for it in a democratic manner. You don't sit and wait for it to be given to you. So I think as young people, we need to continue building our capacity. We need to begin proving to our leaders that, look, when you entrust us, we are going to be able to deliver. And especially the case with the young people in Uganda. I think we need not to engage a lot in politics that are causing division. We need not to engage a lot in politics that are leading us astray, politics that makes us condemn everything. I think we need to spend a lot of time charting ways forward, how we can develop our capacity, how we can develop our society without necessarily getting lost into the waves of politics. Because while politics is good, I have also seen politics leading countries a mess. We need to guard ourselves as young people and ensure that we protect the achievements of our country. Uganda, I can assure you, is a model state. In Africa, I have already told you in regards to youth involvement in decision making. I can also assure you that last week when I was in Accra and I started talking about our wonderful parish model of development, people wanted me to take a lot of time to explain to them how this is being done. I realized from that little engagement that we actually have a lot of interventions that are very unique, directly targeting our youthful population, which other countries are actually trying to learn from us. So as young people, we need to be ambassadors of goodwill for our country. We need to spend a lot of time talking well about our country, because when we talk well about our countries, we are going to make many people who can help us be interested in coming into the country and investing in the young people. When you waste a lot of time in politics, that chases away investors, we are the ones going to lose. And in the end, we will begin crying that, look, there is no jobs. Look, the foreign assistance are gone. Look, the government cannot do this and that. Every government in the entire world needs assistance. That's why I usually get problems with the young people who might come out and begin opposing governments whenever government is getting loan. But you see, when you blackmail your country to the extent that your country cannot get money to develop its own economy, at the end of the day, we become the people who get to lose.
Okay. Well, Daniel, can you suggest some viable and tangible solutions or way forward that you think states, governments, policymakers, and all the others can actually use or deploy to ensure that they manage the youth question in our country?
Number one, I think governments and our good government need to improve on what we call the digital infrastructure, because the future of Africa as a continent is going digital. Right now, we are having the African Continental Free Trade Area that is trying to pave way for developments in Africa. The African Continental Free Trade Area is actually trying to jumpstart economies and push countries from traditional stage of development to take-off stage of development. And we don't need to wait for this to happen and begin grappling for spaces. We need to develop the digital infrastructure in our country so that when this takes place, we are ready for those opportunities. During the COVID-19 pandemic, it is showed to us the need of having the digital skills. The informal sector, which is actually the custodian of our economy, was affected so much. Our fathers and mothers in Chikubu, they could no longer trade because the shops were closed. But I was very happy when I started seeing a lot of these traders going online, going on Facebook, opening websites to begin trading their goods. I know that other societies have already started. The member of parliament called Katesh has opened a website that is marketing goods in his economy. I think that's something that we need to embrace as a country. We need to give a lot of digital skills to our people, not only young people, but also the old, because the future of this continent is moving very fast. We are in what we call the fourth industrial revolution. Every country is trying to embrace it. I think we also need to embrace it. Number two, I think there is also need for our governments to deepen the involvement of young people in decision making. I think we have already given a lot of spaces for young people. We need to continue doing so to ensure that they are part and parcel of every policy that government comes up with. When you involve the young people in deciding for their future, at the end of the day, if they fail out of their own reluctancy, government may not stand to be blamed. And then thirdly, Uganda needs to seize the opportunity of having its young people speak, having its young people clear its image, having its young people represent it in every forum that exists. One of the reasons why we have not received a lot in terms of foreign direct investments is because we have allowed the enemies of our country to centralize on a few challenges that we have and to really market the country in a bad way. But as leaders, when we take center stage and advocate for this country, to present this country for the wonderful country it is, we are going to achieve a lot in regards to foreign direct investments, which are going to contribute deeply in the employment of our young population. And then lastly, I think that the indigenous companies that we have in the country should really commit to employing over 60% of the local labor force. We have young people who are very skilled. Even those who are unskilled, they should be employed. Last year when I was in northern Uganda, I made a case of the indigenous companies in northern Uganda employing 60% labor force coming from the local people. When we employ the local people as opposed to looking for expatriates, we are going to see that in years to come, we would have zeroed the gap of unemployment in the economy. We need to encourage so much inventories and innovations among the young people. When we encourage these inventions and innovations, young people will begin providing opportunities of employment to fellow young people. That is how countries have taken up. And I believe that when we shift our mindset to supporting such innovations, we are going to help our great country to really tackle the issues of unemployment that is persisting within the young people.
Okay. Well, Daniel, finally, in just less than 1 minute, your final take, your final comment as we also get out of studios. But I want to thank you very much. Finally.
Thank you so much, UBC. Thank you, my brother Jagenda, for this opportunity. I know that as Uganda, today marks the beginning of a lot of activities, a lot of engagements that will seek to inform policymakers of the much needed reforms that we need to ensure that we deliver for the youthful population. My word to fellow young people and fellow youth leaders in the country, as we embark and start this month, a month of Africa Youth, where we reflect on the achievements of young people in regards to the reforming of our societies, we need to be very intentional about what we want as young people. We need to chart way forward for our societies. It begins with you at the most local level where you are. I also, of course, on this day want to so much thank His Excellency, the President, our good President, because he is among the few leaders who so much advocated for us to have this day, the Africa Youth Day. He is among the first presidents who actually signed the charter, putting in place the Africa Youth Day, the charter we call the Africa Youth Charter. We need to continue giving him credit for that and encouraging him, because he has proven that in his capacity as the champion of African integration, he is able and willing to walk the talk to ensure that not only countries are integrated, but young people are included. They form part and parcel of every development agenda of the continent. Today is a good day for the continent because we will be receiving a new Africa Youth Envoy, who is the chief diplomat of every Africa, both in the diaspora and in Africa. I think it's a good opportunity that we get to have the second youth envoy. And of course, as youth of Uganda, I know we look so much forward to working with her to ensure that we can chart the future of this continent and ensure that Uganda is represented at all levels. Thank you so much.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Obal, and I just want to wish you the best in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you the best, and of course, we also wait for that announcement of the new youth envoy, who is, I think, coming from the SADC region. Is that so? She's coming from SADC.
Yes, please.
Very good.
Yes, please.
Very good. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best, and of course, carry the flag for Uganda. Represent us very ably like you've done. For God and my country, stay blessed, and bye for now.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome to the home of our stars. Come on in. We have our movies, gossip, reality, conflict, tulinane comedy. Basirebu baffe bonna live right here, because no matter where you go, this is the home of our stars.
This year, as Power Magic Mix 3, we are delighted to invite you to see, experience, and celebrate with us. Power Magic, the home of our stars. Multi-Choice Uganda is regulated by the Uganda Communications Commission.
Patriotism is a feeling of love, devotion, and the willingness to sacrifice for one's country.
I say no to corruption because I put my country first. I choose peace over violence because I put my country first.
I love Uganda. I serve Uganda. I sacrifice for Uganda. I'm loyal to Uganda. I love myself.
Be patriotic. Uganda first. This message is brought to you by the National Secretariat for Patriotism Co-Uganda, Office of the President.
Getting GoTV was the best decision James has ever made. Finding a good place to watch football was never easy, but it was costly until James discovered something big. Now you can finally enjoy the benefits of homegrown advantage with a decoder and 1 month of GoTV Valley. For just 25,000 shillings, enjoy the world's biggest leagues and cap competitions. GoTV Uganda, love it.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our